Welcome to what is Google AI Studio. The name itself says it all, doesn't it? When we're in a studio, we have various tools at our disposal. And Google AI Studio's Gemini model is exactly that, right? It lets us work with, or rather use, different Gemini models. We see options from Gemini 2 to 1.5 and 2.0, all types, which is pretty awesome. They even show costs and info for each, economically and all. Plus, they offer a trial with 1 million tokens. Cool, huh? It resets periodically. Don't ask me how often, it seems random. Then there's the temperature setting for response creativity. And tools to structure the AI's generated responses. We can run code in the prompt, call functions, and more. There are many options in this studio, which is cool. It seems to have beta versions of Gemini's future features. This tool might end up being the ultimate solution. For instance, Stream Real Time lets us analyze our screen live, but only briefly due to high computational demands. They also let us try various new tools they've developed, which are pretty impressive. One of Google's interesting features is allowing us to create our own model. Well, more like fine-tune a model rather than create one from scratch. They explain we can tune a model from an existing prompt or by importing tables or CSVs. They recommend using 100 to 500 examples. You know how model databases work, right? You give it a database and this model starts working based on that data. We have the library here. The good thing is, since it works with Google, it doesn't have to. It could be from another tool and still connect to Drive, but it's fully integrated with Drive. This way, we can use this tool with 15 GB of space and more, which is what Drive includes. Which, in my opinion, is pretty good. Quick warning, Google is currently collecting all the data you give it. I understand they use it to improve their own tool. So avoid giving personal data, especially when streaming your screen or sending a video. Google itself said we should try to maintain our privacy with maximum control for now. Alright, so first off, how does the Google AI Studio interface work? We've come here and heard we can try different Gemini models, and indeed we can. One of the most interesting features is that we can change the model right here. Obviously, we start with the fast model, right? It's proven to work, but there are older models for basic tasks or to use fewer tokens. Or to spend less money. As you can see, this studio is entirely focused on APIs. The APIs are currently paid. If we click here, it explains the pricing structure. They let us test it for free up to a point, but these are the actual prices, okay? Each model has its own pricing and computational power requirements. Once we know how to select a model, we can see the token counter. This counter resets throughout the day, okay? It resets, so don't worry if you've used up a lot. Temperature basically controls creativity, right? It's shown there. This affects each response they'll give us. We have tools to configure different response settings. In advanced settings, we can edit the safety settings. Here's the interesting part for me. It says to adjust how you'd like the responses to be, right? Then it mentions harassment, currently set to show, regardless of potential to offend. And that's true, okay? Obviously, it'll leave a message explaining that this isn't, for example, a doctor, financial advisor, or such, right? But it'll try to give you the most accurate information possible. Previously, it would just say it couldn't do it, you know? We can block these parts, which is useful if we have kids, for instance. This is a feature that few people have explained. Then we have the output length section, okay? where we can set a maximum number of tokens. That is the number of characters in its response, right? This is useful if we want short answers instead of long ones. On the left, we have the option to fine-tune a model and to start or test recent apps, like spatial understanding, where you input an image and it identifies objects like a fox, okay, and an armadillo. These are tools that are in beta phase, all right? Then we have real-time streaming with experimental Gemini 2.0, okay? Here you can stream your screen and the bot tells you what it sees. It can help with tasks, which is quite interesting for the future. So how can we change the model in Google's AI Studio? Well, we go to Create Prompt, where we can write freely, drag files, and more. From this section, we can change the model to whichever we want. Generally, I can say that Gemini works quite well from version 2.0 onwards. As you can see, each model has its own pricing. Here they explain what each model is best suited for. For instance, this one's better for multimodal tasks, real-time streaming, and native tools. They provide use cases, latency info, how long it'll take to load, which is quite useful. They show free limits too. Flashlight, for example, is better for longer contexts. They also give some info on input-output pricing and costs. A price of 0.00 doesn't mean it's free, just less than a cent. So, research prices carefully before making any decisions. You have free tokens, but keep this in mind if you're using the APIs. So, how do we use this interesting Gemini tool in Google's AI Studio? Well, it's the new tool everyone's raving about, saying, wow, this is the latest innovation that might challenge content creators' jobs. Indeed, it's called Stream Real-Time. It's a really useful tool for situations where we have questions or need to know how to do something specific. What's my take on this tool? Do I find it useful or not? For technical aspects, I think it's very useful. For creative work, it's interesting too, constantly providing ideas. But clearly, there's room for improvement. It's still experimental, that's for sure. So how do we use it? Simply go to Select Video Source, choose Screen or Camera if you want to record yourself. So we click Allow here so it can use our microphone. We hit Allow. As for Windows, I'm going to choose the entire screen. We'll try not to share any private information since Google Gemini warned us it'll use all shared info for its benefit, so we need to be careful. Then we click Share. Now Gemini should be able to see the screen, right? I see a Google AI Studio website with the Stream Real-Time page open. There's a Stop Sharing button at the bottom showing the screen is shared. Anything else you want me to comment on? That's all, thank you. Okay, let's disconnect. It's just 10 minutes and I want to test more. But as you saw, it basically recorded what's happening on the screen. As you can see, the video quality is extremely low in terms of pixels. This could be a drawback for some users, like those who need to analyze or distinguish colors. It's quite hard to tell different colors apart here, you know. The resolution's so low, but you can still make things out. Also, these logos up top don't look great, to be honest. But that'll improve as AI and quality get better and faster over time. So we just need to be patient, right? That's how tech evolves. Still, it's amazing that it can speak with a voice. It's not as natural as a real chat or a YouTube tutorial, though. Clearly, his explanation was good, concise, and quick, but it doesn't go much beyond what you're asking. When you watch a YouTube tutorial, the creator explains things you don't know. Not just technical stuff, but new ways to use the program you hadn't thought of before. So we have two options here. Either we adapt to these tools, asking what else we could do that we're not seeing. Right now it gives very basic answers, but I think it'll improve in the future. To what extent? I'm not sure. I see it as a challenge. Google's in deep water, but I wish them luck. The project looks promising, and some say it's the end for YouTubers. But who knows? Remember, Google owns YouTube. Google wants YouTube to succeed, trust me. Okay, maybe they've realized AI is more profitable than YouTube. I don't know, alright? Maybe this is my last video. Nah, just kidding. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Alright, what are the future uses of Google Studio? We have a section where we can stream our screen and more, and as you can see, once we've streamed our screen, we need to create a new chat to stream again. We can't reuse the previous chat, limiting our memory of past data. Not to mention, recording time is only 10 minutes. Google Studio is working on new features that might be out by the time you watch this. For example, spatial understanding, which is more focused on mobile devices to use AI. I'll ask it to find items, 3D bounding boxes, and it'll locate these 3D sections. As you can see, I didn't do very well with it. Well, it marked the window frame here, but only the tip. I'll try to put it in 2D, which might make it easier. Of everything there, it identified paper origami of a fox and armadillo. But obviously these images are already set up. I'd like to grab an image from the internet. I'm going to look for one. Alright, we simply upload an image. I'm not sure if there's a limit, okay? This is just a test after all. These are copyright-free photos. Let's see what it can analyze in this image. I was a bit naughty and looked for complex things. Well, it analyzed the text. It says coffee shop here more or less and analyzed it. It found that there are bikes and such. It didn't do an upload analysis here either. Let's see what it can analyze in this image. It also shows the text of the different boxes. Well, it's been able to analyze the people. It's not a deep analysis, don't get me wrong. It didn't find the small people in the background. The bike wasn't detected either. It doesn't mark this as a C. Maybe if we change the prompt to show object positions, it'll mark people. Well, I have nothing more to say about AI. Let's move on. I told it to mark any aspect it finds in this image, and it marked exactly the same things, okay? People. Let's see if it can find the flower in this photo. It doesn't look like a flower. That's how I identified it. The clothing. Well, these are really basic things. Let's test it again and see if it can do it now. And it could. It did well. It's definitely a big improvement. Let's see now. Pay attention. It should be able to now. Garnish sub. Oh, it found the onion. Not bad at all. The next tool is this one, where we can upload a file. That's what we're going to do. The drive is uploading, as we can see. It's compressed it quite a bit. This is a video I recorded. Now I'll ask it to make a table. Let's see. Generate. It's going to do all this. It's going to do everything. It won't let me select. Well, it made a table explaining the video content. Very interesting. This can really be applied to YouTube. You've likely seen time frame explanations in new videos. They explain what happens at each moment. This is clearly focused on YouTube. I asked it to generate a table there. It says the tool can't generate tables, as it showed the table here, but I still like this list. I see its use. Finally, we have the Map Explorer. Theoretically, if we tell it, I'll say, take me to an ancient place. This one doesn't work quite right. I asked for restaurant recommendations nearby, close to where I live and such. It didn't get it right at all. It wasn't even close. Maybe it does okay for general things, but it doesn't show images or anything. This would be the worst tool for me, though all the tools are good overall, don't misunderstand, but this one's clearly fallen behind. Well. Welcome to what Google's Gemini AI doesn't tell you. Actually, it does tell you, okay? But some folks ignore this info, and it's crucial to remember when talking to AI. All AIs work this way, whether they admit it or not, okay? I'm not trying to mislead. Maybe some have closed code and don't improve, staying fixed, okay? There probably are some, okay? Don't misunderstand. AIs mostly just do AI things. They generate content from their existing databases. But AIs can also reason based on what you tell them, okay? So if to an AI, theoretically, if I tell him that something he said is wrong, I correct him. Well, theoretically, if I explain and he starts to reason and realizes it, the next time I ask him about that topic, if he was right and others have corrected him as well, then if I was correct, the AI will give me the right answer immediately. And that serves a bit as, it would be like training, right? Instead of self-training by analyzing and questioning itself, humans train it based on their own doubts. And in the end, AI for now is a complementary tool for human activities, not a totalitarian tool that works on its own. So what do I want to tell you? We're here in the API section, okay? Where they explain how this AI works and mention that if you pay, okay? The data you're using won't be used to improve their product, okay? In other words, if you pay, theoretically, and I repeat, theoretically, right? I'm not sure how true this is, but let's pretend they really understand AI when no one else can. But how artificial intelligence acquires knowledge, let's assume they're absolute geniuses and have managed to limit how it gains knowledge when theoretically other people have tried and failed, okay? So they're saying that if you pay, they won't use your info to improve the product. But if you don't pay and use it for free, it's not entirely free. There's a cost, and that cost is your information, buddy. Got it? And that's what they tell you. They're super transparent about your data. It's true this page is a bit hidden, but they do include it in the info plans. It's not upfront info, but it's there, you know, which is nice as many AIs don't tell you squat, right? So they tell you there, and it's good to remember. I'm really grateful to Google for telling me they'll use my info to improve their product, even though they, being Google, already have all the info from all my accounts, since they're all made with Gmail. And well, 90% of the planets too, you know? In that sense, they already have pretty much all the info, right? It's a bit ironic they tell me, and some might say, oh, then I won't use AI, use it. But if you have private code or use private APIs, don't use it there, okay? Don't input passwords or ask Google AI Studio things like, is this a good password for my email? Or send it your actual password. Obviously, avoid doing that kind of thing, okay? You never know if that info is stored or if future tech could access old models to extract user data and databases, right? It's likely to happen someday. I won't speculate, but it's something to consider. All right, how can we get more tokens? Let's say we're amateurs or even Google AI Studio Pros, okay? Or, well, proms engineers, whatever you prefer, right? And you've used up the 1,000,000 tokens that reset, and because it does reset, you know? Every day or so it resets and your tokens are replenished. And let's say you need more than that. Well, you have the option to pay for this plan, okay? This is mainly focused on the API, alright? Not so much for general use. For the API, we have this free plan with rating limits, got it? But if we want to continue, we pay per 1,000,000 tokens, and they show the costs. This is how we see the costs. Depending on the model, it'll be more or less expensive, as we can see. But really, for 1,000,000 tokens, I think it's cheaper than TGPT. I think it's pricier than DeepSeek, right? I haven't tested how this API works, you know, because For that, you need a bit more. Well, you don't need much coding know-how, but you do need a decent budget to run an API app without breaking the bank. Got it? It's true we're getting closer to super cheap models like DeepSeek. I've used DeepSeek's API, and I can tell you it's dirt cheap. It generates tons of tokens, and I haven't spent $1 yet. It's crazy. I've used it a ton, you know. I've used it for like 2,000 pages or something, right? And still it hasn't cost me again. Well, I didn't check, but maybe I spent $1.50 or so, okay? Pages, full pages. With GPT, $1.50 wouldn't get you far, right? So, well, that's the cost breakdown. If anyone wants to test it, everything's up in the air right now, okay? Not sure if I'd use this API, DeepSeek, or ChatGPT, depends on each one's needs, so yeah. Alright, in today's video, I'll test if Google Studio can translate a web page and understand what's happening in a program like Filmora. I'll open Filmora, set it to Russian, and ask where things are, what they do, and what's written here and there to see how it works. So let's get started. I'm opening Filmora now. For those who don't know, Filmora is a video editing program. Don't worry, I'll let you know if it's doing well or not and what it's telling us. Okay, there it is. I've set the program to Hindi. Now we'll go to Google I Studio, head to stream real time and start streaming our screen. Alright, you're now seeing my Filmora in a different language. Can you tell me what's written at the top where my cursor is right now? Sure. You're seeing Filmora in a language other than Spanish. In the top left corner it says Project Media. On the right it says Export. Not great, huh? You didn't quite get it. Where my cursor is in a box with a Filmora logo folder, what's on the glowing green button? The glowing green button says Import files, images, or video. So it seems there's not much limitation on file types. Now I'm going to drag a video in. I'll ask Gemini. I just added a video to Filmora's editor. What should I do? Okay, I see you're in the Filmora editor now. You've added a video to the timeline and want to know what's next. What would you like to do with your video? As you can see, it couldn't creatively suggest what to do. This explanation is still pretty basic. Alright, I'm going to stop the test now. It's interesting though. As you can see, I know this program by heart, regardless of the language. When I asked creatively to stop recording, you saw it couldn't help. It wasn't able to assist. It's a shame, but I assume it'll be a helpful tool in the future. I know I've been tough, using another language and all. I'm aware of that. I'm here to test it. That's my job. I know it works when things are easy. Yes, I've seen other videos where it performs well. I know, but I wanted to push further, and we'll keep pushing in future videos. Alright, I'll be using Google I Studio, the new version that lets us stream, to test if it can do focused homework, mainly simple, basic tasks. For instance, if you're a parent or teacher, we'll see if this tool can help students with simple assignments. I've chosen some basic primary school math, typical for 8-year-olds here, which they should start doing and understanding. Well, with whole numbers for sure, but I'm not certain about decimals. So, let's get started with this. Don't worry, I know math well. I'll let you know if it's doing it right. Now we'll start the stream and select the screen here. I'll tell it to capture the whole window, which is fine by me. Well, we're here on the live stream and I had a question, Gemini. I'm doing my homework, and for the first calculation, could you tell me exactly what it says? Sure, the first calculation says 4 times 25. Do you need help solving it? I know 4 times 25 is 100, but could you explain why? Of course, I can explain why 4 times 25 equals 100. Can you think of multiplication as repeated addition? In this case, 4 times 25 means you're adding 25 4 times. So 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. Alright, that's it then. I like that it stays quiet when I'm talking. What I do miss a bit is a pause button. Maybe clicking here pauses it, but I don't want to mess things up. Let's move on to a more interesting calculation. You see, Gemini, I'm trying to test your abilities to see if you can extract the information on the screen correctly, and if, could you help my students with their classwork? In this table, can you see where my cursor is or which calculation I'm highlighting? Absolutely. I see your cursor on the row that says 50 divided by 0.5 in the table on page 17. Very interesting. I really like that analysis. I'd like to find some more challenging problems. This is for elementary kids, so we can't expect anything too complex. Okay, look. Since it's in one language, you won't understand. Alright, okay. Gemini, I have different items on screen right now. I have a question. If I take 2 dresses, 2 washers, sell 5 phones, 5 remotes, and 4 more laptops, what happens? Selling those items would get you 2,818 euros. Do you need anything else? As you can see, it completely ignored what I said. I like that. I like finding those mistakes again. That's what we're here for. Gemini, I'm going to try again, okay? I go to a store to buy 5 dresses, but it's a buy and sell bazaar. So after buying 5 dresses, I sell the guy 10 Philips phones. He offers me controls for 276 euros, but I only buy 2. Finally, I sell my laptop for its value plus a washing machine. How much money do I have left? Explain the problem to me. Well, it's frozen. It's okay. This test was fun. I enjoyed it, but it crashed. It's fine, it's fine. Well, you can't solve grade school math yet. Alright, now we're going to try programming Snake using Gemini, the Gemini 2.0 program. I know it'd be easier with ChatGPT or Cloud, but we'll test Gemini since we're trying out the Stream Real-Time tool. I want to see how easy it is to program Snake with this tool. So before sharing my screen, I'll ask it to generate a Snake game in HTML. It'll create the game, and I don't mind if the code's perfect or not, as I'll test it in Codeopen, a tool that lets me check the game. As you can see, the game looks odd, with Snake on one side and a black thing on the other. I'll explain this situation to the screen recording tool and describe what's happening. Alright, let's move to iStudio. Look, I've got an issue. I was coding with Gemini 2.0, and I found this script I'm using to program Snake. As you can see, the result after using Codeopen is a typical black snake background with a green snake on the left and red apples on the left too. So it hasn't centered things properly. How should I ask Gemini to fix this error?
You could ask Gemini to center the elements in the game area. Also, ask why the elements aren't centered.
Great, that's exactly what we'll do. Let's try this and see if it works. Well, it made a black square, but it didn't work. As we can see, Gemini can't do it. So let's try with ChatGPT instead. Alright, I'm working on the Snake game with ChatGPT. I'll ask Gemini a quick question. Gemini, am I recording you right now?
So you're using ChatGPT for the Snake game and asking Gemini about recording.
No, I'm asking you, are you aware if I'm recording you? Do you know?
I see. In the video, you run the Snake game after getting help from ChatGPT. Then you ask me the AI if I know I'm being recorded, right? As an AI, I can't tell if I'm being recorded or if you're sharing your screen. I just process your text input and respond based on given information.
So, looking at the screen now, what do you think of this snake game?
The snake game on screen has a simple design: white background, red square for the snake, and a green dot for the apple. The game mechanics work. The snake moves and eats apples, growing longer. If the snake hits walls or itself, a game over message appears and the game restarts. Want me to describe more? No.
As we've seen, the AI is making up half the information. The snake hasn't eaten any apples at all. Well, I guess these are typical responses. It didn't even notice the OBS recording in the bottom right or the Open OBS app. It's clearly very basic. I thought it could analyze code and help, but it's nowhere near that level yet. In the last video, we tested its math skills with tricky grammar. It got confused and crashed. Some say this is the end for YouTubers. Maybe, but there's still a long way to go.
Right now, I think it's a useless tool.